All right, welcome everyone to our mastermind meeting. And this is Wednesday, March the 9th. I can't believe it's already into
So
almost the end of the quarter, right, Dr. Nestle? Okay, so welcome everyone. Eric is in Orlando this week, being certified with the John Maxwell coaching program that I went to 11 years ago. So he is doing that now. And so I'm so excited for him. I think Abby's doing it with him. So congratulations, Eric, if you're gonna when you watch this. So hi, Dr. Kate, Dr. Haig. Good to have you tonight. So we have a lot going on. We were just talking about the retreat coming up in June, Friday, June 24th and 25th, here in Bainbury. And how do we spell that, Dr. Allgood? Baneberry.
Bane, Berry. Not Bangberry,
No.
Baneberry.
Right, right. So we're looking forward to having that meeting. And if you want to do Airbnb, Bainbury, Tennessee, or Jefferson County, Tennessee, you'll find some lodging there. There's the Bainbury Inn, which is across the street from where we're staying. But while we're on the subject of retreats, why don't we just go ahead and talk about the next one coming up, which is our Zoom camp. And that is going to be just in what, 2 weeks now? We have March 25th for our first Friday and April 22nd for our second Friday for CE credits. And let me just give you a brief rundown of what we're doing. Of course, Eric and I will be speaking. Dr. Barry Watson, who many of you know, who just got back from a month in Mexico, is going to be speaking on marketing and microscopes. So he's got a couple of topics he's going to talk about using the dental microscope in the practice, and a marketing talk that he did for the local hospital, which was really, really good. And Dr. Ted Johnson will be with us. He's our IPSO sponsor, International Partnership for the Study of Occlusion. He'll be with us also talking about occlusion. And then we have Art Wiederman, CPA, will be talking about CPA things. He's got a lot of topics lined up, and we actually did a survey with some questions, as you may have seen in your email. If you still want to answer that email with the questions you'd like to ask Art, please let us know. Then Dr. Slava and IHOB will be talking about scanners. So that'll be fun conversation. And then we also have Jen, who's one of our coaches, and she'll be talking about large case acceptance, which a lot of practices struggle with that, really getting that acceptance for large cases. And then we'll have Stephen Johnson with Verity patient financings. We have a packed agenda for both of those Fridays with some different type things. So I'm looking forward to everybody joining us for those 2 Fridays. And if you want to register, just let us know. Good thing about Zoom camp is you don't have to fly and you don't have to get a hotel, right? Okay. So what questions do we have from the group tonight before we go any further? I mean, we always have an agenda, but we want to hear what you want to talk about. Who has a question or anything you want to share? Anybody?
I have a question.
Okay, shoot.
How did the dentist with a high C pick a dentist to work on him?
How did to work?
What are you laughing? How does a dentist like me with a high C find a dentist?
How do you find a dentist? That's a very good question, Dr. Netzley. I like that question. So who would like to answer that? Dr. Allgood, give it a shot.
Well, number one, he needs to find a dentist that understands the disc profile. So he is able to communicate with said C dentist in the manner in which he sees fit. Now, how you do that is a good question. you may, is this someone that's going to find some locally, or someone that's just searching for someone statewide? You know, it all depends. Sometimes you have to go out of your community to find someone that will give you the care that you want to receive.
That's true.
My problem is I've literally sat at the feet of the greatest dentist in the world. And I went to a dentist recently, and he's still using retraction cord. It's really interesting having a guy rip the tissues off of my skull in order to take an impression. I haven't used retraction cord in 15 years.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, we got this thing called soft tissue laser. And it's just amazing. He has an office that's $300 a square foot. I mean, it is really nice.
Wow.
But what do you do when you know more than them?
What I think you need to do is you need to find a high D who will listen to you and then tell you what to do. So that's the biggest thing.
Very,
And are you looking for someone? Are you able to verify their continuing education? Have they been to IPSO? You know, have they been to see Dawson, Pankey? What restorative courses have they taken?
I went to LVI.
LVI?
Yeah.
Well, that
Anyway,
that might be a red flag.
second, what do you do with crazy patients? They're absolutely crazy.
All right. A crazy patient? Tell me more about that.
Well, we had one come in last week, and she looking for a dentist that would take her root canal out. So I did an X-ray. I talked to her first, and I did an exam, and she needs a new crown. She signed a form to make a crown, and then when we called to confirm her, she denied ever being in my office. We pointed out that we have her signature on the form. I'm looking at your signature. She was silent. But what do you do? How do you screen crazy people that absolutely you don't want in your office?
Oh, was she crazy, or was she on drugs? You know,
About a mental problem where she can't remember, she's lying, she's dishonest, everything else. You just write them off and move on, or what?
What do you do, Dr. Stanky?
Everybody, my partners will tell you that all my patients are crazy, but I think what we've come up with a kite. We give them a kite so they'll fly off. So, I just did it the other day, and if the good news is that they can choose us and we can choose them, and we've been actually embracing that to tell people that just aren't in our mode to maybe they should find another dentist, and so we've been embracing that surprisingly.
Yeah, for sure.
well, if you started treatment on them already,
Mm-hmm.
and then dismiss them, then can they come back for abandonment? You know,
Right.
How do you cover all of that?
Yeah, you need to make sure that all the active treatments completed, and then you document well that you completed it and they were satisfied. But those are there's too many crazy peoples in the world right now.
There really are. And you have to do it. You have to be very careful.
We in
Dismissing.
California have a nice form from the California Dental Association that talks about how to dismiss a patient. And you don't ever give them a reason why. You just say, it's not working, and that's it.
Right.
We give them a 30-day period for them to find somebody to have an emergency, come in and get themselves treated. So it's not abandonment, like you say. You gave them a 30-day period to find somebody else.
Right. Exactly. Perfect.
You cannot dismiss them in the middle of treatment, however. Right?
Not good.
Is that right, guys? Is that what you know?
Right. Complete what you've done.
If at all possible. I mean, here's, realize that dismissing is the last resort. I mean, there's articles out there. Notify the patient in writing, 30 days notice, like you said. Document notification. Now, this is physician, but there are articles out here for dentistry as well on how to legally dismiss. Let me see if I can pull one up. Any other things, Dr. Allgood? How did you handle it? Dr. Haig, have you ever had to dismiss anyone?
Yeah, I just tell them that I think it says something about, the doctor-patient relationship isn't working, or, the trust isn't there or something, and then just let them go. I've let go all sorts of people if they aren't respectful or nice or all sorts of things.
Right.
Sort of their philosophy is not the same, is not agreeing with the philosophy of the office.
Right. Yeah.
Same
Like,
way.
I'm not going to argue with people forever about their treatment, for sure.
No.
Here's an article. We won't go through all this, but some stop treatment because they haven't paid their bill. We can't do that. That's constructive abandonment occurs when doctors refuse to give the patient any more appointments or extend or prolong treatment for non-clinical reasons. Example, past due accounts. I've seen people do this with ortho. Like they really could be finished, but they're going to extend it because they haven't paid their bill, or So you really have to be careful about these type things. It's not as easy as it used to be. You could just whip them a letter and say, "See ya." But now we have to be careful, right? Okay, good question. All right, any other questions? Dr. Hay, do you have any questions for the group tonight? Okay, all right. Dr. Sankey?
No,
Dr. Allgood, tell us what you've been doing. You've been doing something with the dental school?
I have been. I think, but one of the most important things since the last time we met, or I met with y'all, is Georgia won the national championship.
Oh.
I did need to put that into this.
that was great.
Other than that, yeah, I started working with the dental school every other week. Done that about 4 times. It's a general practice senior clinic. And so what you have are these senior students, and they're actually going to be graduating in May. And so it's some of it are they doing things to finish up with requirements or finish patients, that type thing. So it's been pretty rewarding for me to be able to talk with them, see what's going on at the dental school, and realize that things haven't changed as much as I thought they had as far as the patient care from when I was there. The facilities, is totally different. Technology obviously is different things, but it's a lot of good students, and some of them have good practices that they're going into. One of the things that they're looking for is a freedom of choice practice, which is good.
I like that. Freedom of choice.
Others going into GPR, and others don't know what they're going to be doing yet. They've got 2 months. Yeah. So it's been good. It's been good, sort of revitalizing me to an extent.
So Andy, has Delta infiltrated the dental school tremendously in terms of, they're indoctrinating everyone into Delta Dental?
I have not gotten that, but you don't know because these groups, I don't know that Delta's doing it, but some of your other groups, your Heartland,
Yes.
Aspen, they'll do receptions for the kids, for the students. I guess you can call them kids when you're 50 years older than they are. Yeah. And so I haven't seen a lot of that, but it's a good question, Dan. I'm going in next Thursday, and I'll ask them that.
Well, at UNE, which is in the dental college in Maine, it's, because Ted Morgan's son graduated from there. Right. He said it was awful. I mean, they give $1 million. They gave and they give an incredible amount of money and then indoctrinate everyone in terms of, Delta Dental and all that. So it's hard to get a message across with regards to fee-for-service dentistry.
Right.
It's tough in these schools.
Well, it's tough. I think you're seeing the corporate take over not just some segments of dentistry, but also other professions such as veterinary medicine.
Right.
My daughter was going to go into a fee-for-service practice, and the day she was going to start, the corporate bought them out.
Right.
And the environment changed immediately. So they're getting into everything.
Right. Well, these corporates for veterinaries, I know too. The one locally in Dover just sold, and a good friend of mine from New Hampshire had 5 practitioners, and he sold to corporate because they're paying incredible dollars for to buy these practices. And I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it's really high in veterinary.
Well,
Can I ask, is it the full price they're paying, or is it part of the price and they get the rest later in equity?
Well, this orthodontist right down below my previous office, from what I understand, they're coming in and they're purchasing his practice. He's going to stay with them for a certain period of time. They're giving him $6 million up front.
Wow.
With another 6 to come later.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you think they didn't offer that for my practice, dang it. But anyway.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It is.
What they're offering up front almost makes it impossible to turn them down.
Yeah.
And veterinary is that way.
Yeah.
And now coming into dentistry, they're offering some crazy dollars to buy practices.
And they're private equity groups. There was actually Kane and Waters sent out an article on this. Did y'all see that this week? I don't know if you guys get.
Didn't read it.
Let me see if I can find it real quick, and I'll pull it up just to show you what I'm talking about. So this is from Kane and Waters that just came out in a newsletter, and they were talking about the pros and cons of selling to a private dentist or to private equity, and it gives you the selling to another dentist, and then it goes to the biggest con of selling is not finding the right fit, but do the research, educate yourself, and talk to a practice transition professional, maybe, selling to private equity, and then it gives some information here. Selling a majority interest to a DSO or private equity group means the dentist's autonomy only goes so far. It's important to understand, depending on the terms of the sale, the group still has fundamental control in the business, maybe a deal breaker. And another drawback selling to a DSA comes the contract is structured so the seller doesn't receive 100% of the sale right away. If the business declines or does not maintain production, the doctor will not get all the proceeds. I've got clients with that deal right now. So they have like 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, that they have to maintain a certain level of production or they don't get the rest of their money. Mm-hmm. And then in midstream, their private equity group sells to another private equity group.
Wow.
So you like the original group that you sold to, but then that group decides to sell to another group. And then you may not like those people, but too bad.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to kind of realize that whatever money you get initially, you have to accept that may be all you get.
So let's fast forward 15 years down the road. How many fee-for-service dentists like us are going to be around?
Good question. That segues right into our insurance conversation, doesn't it? Our Dental Freedom Academy, yes. That's a good question. What do y'all think? What's your philosophy on that? Dan, do you have a thought?
Well, I'm just seeing it happen more and more. I had a good friend who just sold to a group. They're dentists, but they're buying up, and this has happened in Southern Maine all over. These are dentists that buy up 5 or 6 or 7 practices in the area, and they put it in their protocols and buy it. So it's not a huge, DSO, but this is what's happening. You have this happening all over, and so I just see the fee for service, patient centered, doctor patient relationship practice really taking a hit, because I've seen it in, as you know, Paula, in medicine with my daughter. It's brutal. You just don't have it anymore.
No.
Right. Well, here's the thing that Eric and I are seeing, is that with, especially in the last year since COVID, the insurance companies are playing some dirty tricks. So, I mean, dirtier tricks, maybe we could say. So, for example, one particular company has lowered their maximum to $750 a year.
Wow.
Okay. One of the major companies has lowered their maximum to $750 a year. I mean, yeah. And then another thing we're seeing that's affecting the DSOs is one of the major companies is they're trickling out letters to different states, and South Carolina just got one. If you open a new location or if you add a dentist, your fee schedule drops. You had that happen to you, Dr. Stanky. But this is like affecting the larger groups now,
Right.
unless they can negotiate their way out of this. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen with that, but we're also seeing those fee schedules drop. One particular large company is saying you can have this higher fee schedule as long as you don't contract with any other plan. How they get away with that legally, I'm not sure, but we're seeing all kinds of maneuvering like this, and I am seeing, Eric and I are seeing more dentists than ever wanting to go fee for service.
Right. And again, and Andy, we're preaching to the choir, and this whole group probably preaching to the choir, but I mean, we're seeing tremendous numbers of people wanting fee for service dentistry. I mean, we can't serve them even. They're wanting so much. They've gone to Aspen, they've gone to all these others, and they want quality care. They want the doctor-patient relationship. So it's there, but again, the reason I asked Andy is that it's infiltrating the dental school so much that these dentists, if they're dumb, fat, and happy, they don't know what's going on. They're getting out thinking that this is the future of dentistry, and so it's hard to break that mold.
Well, with this, we talk about, quote, managed care insurance. I think it really started back. Well, I was president of the Dental Association, in 94, 95, and it was starting to hit medicine then.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we put forth for the American Dental Association was making sure that the individual practitioner was able to provide fee for service. I don't know that they did a good job of that, but now you look at, because of the mentality of so many of the dentists with their, their approval addiction and all, man, they don't think they can practice without signing up for all these plans.
Right.
And the thing is, there are a lot of people that are not in these plans, like you're talking about, Dan, and they want good quality care, but at times the dentists aren't taking the continuing education courses that they ought to be taking to provide good quality care, and they don't have the communication skills or the verbal skills, and their mindset is that, my patients don't want that.
Right.
And so it's you see a lot of that, and you talk about fee for service. Well, fee for service is a minority now.
Right. Do you remember
a number of practices that are taking plans now? Down at the dental school, an example, there's this dentist who actually works at the dental school for 3 days a week, and he works in his practice or another practice for 2 days a week up in Spartanburg. He said the other day he did a root canal, he did a post, and he did a crown, and he got paid $1,100.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't take those anymore, but
Right.
but you know, what do you do? He got
Right.
paid $1,100 for all of that.
Isn't that crazy? Well, that's what Medicare does. Now, Andy, do you remember Avram King and Sorensen back in the day?
Yeah.
Well, they was talking about this back in the 80s and 90s. This is
Yeah,
what it
right.
was going to be. And luckily, you and I have made it through our whole careers without this happening. But this is exactly what he was talking about
Yeah.
back then. You know?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's interesting the dynamic, and with inflation and the fee schedules on the insurance contracts going down, inflation going up, and overhead going up, and it's really difficult for doctors to make it. Like in the Dental Freedom Academy with Denvantage, we've been talking about this, and some of the doctors are working 3 and 4 months out of the year for free by the
Right.
time you count the adjustments. And when you take a step back and you look at that, look at the big picture, it's the Ted Morgan and I talk about this sometimes. The myth of the empty chair.
Right.
Do y'all know what I mean when I say that?
Right.
The myth of
Exactly.
the empty chair. What do you think that means? What am I talking about?
Well, you got the thing, the empty chair. You're doing dentistry for 33% less than your fee, then you could literally have that empty chair sitting there. You could be drinking coffee and still doing the same rather than beating your head against the wall, doing all this dentistry. And so this is where, again, I think we're preaching to the choir, but man, it's crazy.
Well, there are people who watch these recordings. There's several who watch that aren't on here and share. And in fact, Eric did a podcast with Dr. Lopez, Dr. Allgood. I don't know if you saw it, about fee-for-service dentistry. This is a podcast with Dr. Lopez, who purchased Dr. Allgood's practice. Let me see. I was going to try to see if I could find that real quick and pull it up, but it's on YouTube. And Eric sent me the link the other day to it. But it's really good. He did a good job. And so this is a young man who has bought a fee-for-service practice and is asking us now, my friends, my colleagues, because he's in his 30s, isn't he, Dr. Allgood?
Ask me that again, please.
Is Dr. Lopez in his 30s?
Yeah. He's maybe 35.
Yeah. So he said his colleagues are coming to him asking, how do you do that? I want to do that.
Well, Augusta is rampant with the managed care of the insurance plans.
And I'm not sure that all of his colleagues are from Augusta, but they may be, because that's his place, right?
I think he may. Oh, they do blogs. He's on a bunch of blogs these days, I think. So, yeah, and it is how you do it is number one, your quality care, the relationships that you build, the team that you have, and
Right.
your own mindset is the most critical thing.
That's true.
If your mindset is, well, I know I can't practice without taking all of these plans, then you're going to take all these plans.
Yes.
And you're going to be turning patients away that really want really good quality dentistry.
Yes. That is.
I have a
that's
quick
exactly
question.
right. Go ahead.
So I'm in the process of getting out of insurances, and I know, like you mentioned, like you need continuing ed, and I do quite a bit, but I guess I'm like, how do you, as far as being fee for service, I know like it's good to be like really good at like full mouth reconstructions and like all those things. Like I have no desire to do that. Like it gives me anxiety. I don't want to do it. Like, is it possible to still have a fee for service and not do some of those like high level things, procedures. I'm talking to another dentist about possibly associating or partnering, and he's more interested in that stuff. Is that how you then do it? You partner with somebody who's interested in those things? Because
Well,
I agree that you need to be able to do all the things in the more complex procedures, but like I don't know. At this moment in time, I don't have a desire.
is it something that is a fee for service dentist, one that does all of these things, the full mouth reconstruction, 28 crowns and that type thing? That's not necessarily so, I don't think. I think it's fee for service. You can provide really good services for patients at the level of, number one, level of your desire and the level of your expertise. But a lot of times the best thing to do is to do the continuing education courses, and you're able to see what needs to be done, and if you have someone to help you. But it's that's not necessarily the definition of a fee for service, I don't think, as far as the dentist that does all the crown and bridge and the full mouth reconstruction and all.
And Andy, as you said that, what part of the practice is this full mouth reconstruction? It's a very minor part.
Yeah.
The nuts and bolts of just seeing people, empathizing with them, and how you talk to patients, how you get their trust. That's fee for service practice, just knowing that. And then if you have to refer to an endodontist, you get one that you can trust, and it's going to provide good care, and the patient trusts you, and the patient trusts that person. Again, it's like whatever you want to do, if you can partner with some other specialists that will provide that care, and and then you follow through with them afterwards. That's the definition. It's not being able to do all this stuff. It's a matter of doing what you do well, single crowns, whatever. But then doing it with compassion and having a great relationship with the patient.
You hit it on the head. Exactly. That's bingo. And it just pulls up the why, how, what, which I kind of had on our list tonight of revisiting this, because just a personal story that just came up for my family member. And when you start, Dr. Haig, with the why, knowing what the patient wants, their why, and then what the conditions are, which is a why. So there's two sides to the why. There's the patient's why, and then what their conditions are, which is the why they need treatment. And then talk about the how, and then the what. So we get this so backwards. We start with the what. So I had a family member who went in and needs some implants, and a couple of teeth questionable, bridge failed, etc. They go to the periodontist, and they come home with a treatment plan with all these technical words on there, and they don't understand any of it. And they were never given the why. And so I'm calling to find out. They're asking for my help, and I'm calling to find out. And they had to go look up the conditions. They didn't really know what the conditions were. And then she got a second opinion, and the treatment plan is very different, and they're confused as to how it could be that different. So there was absolutely no relationship. She chose the second opinion person because they were more conservative in the treatment plan and also friendly. So what do we always teach? 85% of your success comes from your people skills. So Dr. Haig, that's the main thing. 15% from your clinical ability and 85% people skills. If you can't connect, like John Maxwell says, everyone connects, everyone communicates, few connect. So if you're connecting with people, that's really what they want. I mean, how can I back that up? So let me ask you, have you had patients who've been with you or they come to you from another dentist and they've been with that person for 30 years and their mouth is a wreck. Do y'all have any patients like that? Why did they stay with that other doctor for 30 years if they were such bad dentists clinically?
Number one, they didn't know it. And number two, the relationships.
Absolutely. They liked him. Family friend. Well, I play golf with him, or, I've known him forever, go to church together, whatever. They stay because of the relationship. You're absolutely right. My financial planner told me the other day, the bank I bank with is being sold, how all these mergers and acquisitions. He said, yeah, the products are really the same wherever you go. It's really about relationship. I was like, well, he's right on. Yep.
I've got to agree with everybody, everything's been said. I've been really working hard on the boot camp way, and I'm getting such reviews, it's crazy, because I was establishing a relationship with these people. I got to tell the doctor here that I have gone to the classes to do full mouth reconstruction. And there was a heyday when the patient could take the money out of the house and pay the $30,000, $40,000 for the treatment. Guess what? It's not happening today. But I have done a few of those cases, but I got to tell you, after sitting back, I'm a bread and butter doctor. I just do basic dentistry and try to treat them well. And so it doesn't matter if XYZ getting people flying in from around the world to have their full mouth reconstruction done. It's what you're doing, what you feel good about, and how you feel about the patients.
Yeah. Paula, may I share? People talk about their productive operatories and all. I found that my most productive room in my office was the consult room.
Oh!
And most people don't ever use the thing, but the consult room, bringing the patient in instead of bringing them straight through hygiene all the time, bring them in, have a good new patient interview, and find out, using your boot camp skills, with a lot of it, what they desire. Not what you want them to have, but what they desire and what it'll do for them. And it's not just, well, I want a better smile. Okay, so you want a better smile. Why do you want that? What is it? Is it because you just got a divorce and you're looking for a new boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever? Or is it something that you're looking for a new job? And you don't feel confident with your smile in an interview. So it's finding out what the patient wants, but you got to question them like that. It's the listen, cushion, question, answer, confirm. See, I still remember that stuff, Paul.
Yeah, you do. People purchase with emotion and justify with logic. Remember that one?
Oh, I remember that from my blue car.
That's right. That's right. I bought a car that I could afford one time. It had manual windows and no air conditioning. I hated that car.
Yeah.
That's your patients with a partial, because that's what insurance covers.
Yeah.
They hate you for giving them that partial.
Good analogy.
Right?
Well,
So
I bought cars with roll-up windows because that's all they had.
that was back in the day before the electric windows, right, Andy?
You got it. And before seatbelts.
I had a 62 Valiant that I drove, yeah.
Okay.
On the steering wheel change.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No seatbelt. My dad had to pad the seat for me so I could see over the steering wheel. So emotion versus logic. You see, we think if we can logically explain and educate, that's one of my pet peeve words in dentistry. We need to educate the patient. They don't necessarily want to be educated. And you could educate me all day long about a bulldozer, but I don't want a bulldozer.
I'd like a bulldozer.
Right.
I don't care how much you educate me about a bulldozer. I don't want that. So until you have their why and it connects with something they want, like you said, Dr. Allgood, you can explain and use your logic all day long. But if I don't want it, I'm not going to do it. And that's the other thing. I always ask team members, how many of you bought something you couldn't afford? And most of them raise their hand. Why do we do that? Because we want it. If we want it, we find a way. You know, when I was in my 30s, I know I'm not far from that now, but back then, I needed lots of dental treatment, and I sold some silver from wedding gifts. I sold things to pay for my teeth. That was before Care Credit was even around. That tells you my age. But yeah, I wanted it bad enough. I wanted to save my teeth. So when people say I can't afford it, sometimes that really means they don't want it. Okay? That's where you have to step back, because how many times have you offered to even give them a huge discount, give this for free? I mean, I've told the story before. I had a good friend that I offered to pay for their dental treatment for 2 years before they said yes. Okay?
Above the line, below the line. Panky.
Tell us more.
LD Panky always said your patient is, in terms of their understanding and their appreciation for dentistry, you have above the line patients that can appreciate what you're doing, and below the line patients that you could do everything and they don't appreciate it, they don't respect it, they
That's
don't
right.
value it.
For sure. That's it, exactly right. So, well, this is an amazing discussion. This is very exciting. I love the mastermind. Any other questions or thoughts about this? I hope a lot of people listen to this recording, because there's some wisdom. I put that in the email every time. There's a lot of wisdom in this group, and we want that to be spread around. And I know a lot of the younger doctors have children at home, and they will watch a recording later. This is bedtime for some of the East Coast folks. But you know, it's really awesome that you get on here and you share your experiences and offer the mentorship that you do for the other doctors out there. And I hope you get a chance to listen to that podcast Dr. Allgood of Dr. Lopez did, because it's inspirational when you have a doctor who buys a fee-for-service practice and continues that.
Yeah, he has continued and elevated in different ways, which is awesome. And it's, one of the biggest things is every team member that was there is when I was there, and
Isn't that amazing?
when I sold the practice.
That's awesome.
Still there.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
That is really, really amazing, because I don't see that very often.
Well, you know, we worked with that. I think Dr. Lopez was still in dental school when he came to me, and because he had heard about the practice and that I might be wanting somebody, and I thought about having a GPR resident come in to do implants, different things like that. But while he was still in dental school, I incorporated him into the team. You know, not into the clinical, but into the team. Have he and his wife come to our house for the Christmas parties. You know, and
There it is.
And then he went to GPR and
Yeah.
still did the same thing and continued on. And that was the first thing. And then we were able to continue with the practice, the clinical part and all, after he bought the practice or actually came in.
So here he is. This is who we're talking about. That's Eric. Just a minute. Well, that's still Eric. Let's see if I can find Dr. Allgood. Here he is.
Dr. Lopez.
Dr. Lopez, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's
His beard is darker than mine.
Dr. Lopez talking a little bit.
It worked out perfectly. Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much again. So here's what I want for the dentists that are listening, especially for those who are either considering resigning from insurance, but most importantly, I think the story that you can share with those that are getting ready to graduate from dental school, they just graduated from dental school, they're an associate somewhere, they're looking to buy a practice, and what are they looking for? And so I would love it if we just go through some questions and create some story here for them to understand. So first of all, yes or no, was there a time you ever participated with insurance?
No.
So out of school, boom, you're out of practice, and that practice did not participate with any insurance at all.
No, I went straight on as an associate in a fee-for-service practice, and did not participate in any insurance. And I had a lot of mentors that helped, made me realize how important that was. So I did somewhat search out a practice like that, knowing my goal eventually was to buy, but that's where I wanted to start out.
Love it, love it. So when you say, let's define fee-for-service for those listening or not participating with insurance. In your practice now, how you handle insurance, tell people listening how you guys do it in your office, just straight, this is how we do it. Not like you're talking to a patient, but like you're talking to dentists, right?
Yeah, so our office, we see patients of all insurances. We kind of let them know up front that we file their insurance for them. They pay us for services rendered, and then most of the time they'll get a check from their insurance company. Every once in a while, a check comes to us, and then we just cut a refund check to the patient. But it works out really well because I don't have to deal with looking at what the insurance is going to allow, how, if they've had something done recently, that really shouldn't change what I feel like I should do. And it helps because the patients understand, and we do a great job with your help, especially communicating with them of the importance and of our type of practice, and also why we don't do it, why we want to stay fee-for-service out of network. Well, we don't say out of network, but not contracted with them.
Yes.
It just makes things much better relationship between us and the patient.
So this is what we call a true fee-for-service practice.
Well, I need to stop it. So yeah, here we go. Okay. So what do you think about that? It's pretty good, huh?
He always had a wisdom. When I met him, he had a wisdom that was, far past where he was. And so Andy had a great gem there.
Yes, and he is a DenVantage client as well.
And doing well with it.
And doing very well. I mean, they are closing patients on DenVantage left and right. It's very exciting to see that happen. So I think they have, if this number was correct, maybe 100 a month of transactions with DenVantage. That doesn't mean 100 new people every month, but about 100 transactions with DenVantage every month. So
that's pretty close. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And you were just in there, weren't you, Dr. Allgood, filling in?
I was while
Dr. Lopez was on maternity leave.
he was on maternity leave. I was there for about a week. Yeah, it was cool. I told him I didn't want to do any crowns. I didn't want to do any more Cerex or anything. And I'm done with that. And so that, but yeah, I was there, and it was good relating back with the team members because they're not only team members, but they over the years developed true friendships with them. And
That's right.
It's like the patients, your team, you sort of need to know what makes them tick too. Just
right.
Like you know what makes the patient tick. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it was good. I got to see a lot of my previous patients. I won't say old patients, previous patients, but they retained the team members and also the patient population. There are very few patients that left because I retired.
Wow.
But it was a matter of working through and the team.
That's awesome.
Dr. Lopez, he's good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had a call with them this week. They're doing great.
Yeah.
And they have good questions. So, some of the other things we mentioned on our agenda tonight were Q1 reports, and we're going to wrap up here. We can talk about these later. Evaluating your insurance participation, how to go through those steps, and Eric and I are happy to help you. And DenVantage has the great Dental Freedom Academy now that we've rolled out to help teams go through this process. Team culture is coming up more and more and more. I don't know about you guys, but I think our world population is stressed right now. Are you kind of seeing that?
I'm kind of seeing a little bit on my side.
Oh, yeah?
I've got to quit watching the Ukraine stuff.
Oh yeah.
So,
It's crazy.
I can't watch mainstream. I can't do it. So I try to get the flip side of the story. But it's causing stress in the office. Team members are stressed. They're chewing on each other. Their budgets are out of whack because of the inflation, and so we really, really have to keep that conversation of team harmony open and keep sharing your culture. Keeping the schedule full, using word pictures, case presentation, the why. I'll tell you what, just I'm going to give you a challenge this week to see how many times you get the patient's why and how many times you're actually giving the patient the conditions, which is the why from your side. Why do you need to move forward? Why do you need treatment? Not just giving them a treatment plan, but giving them the conditions first and then seeing what they think about those conditions, but also finding out that emotional reason why the patients move forward. So talk to your team about that and maybe mention it in huddle. How many times did we give the conditions to the patient before we gave them the treatment plan? How many times did we find out what the patient's motivators are before we tried to motivate them? These are great things to help your team with on a daily basis. Morning huddle is awesome for accountability, if you haven't noticed. If you want to implement some things, you've got your morning huddle, which is a continual drip of whatever that skill is, and you keep repeating. It takes 21 days to create a habit, right? We have to hear something, right? We have to hear something repeatedly before we know it, and then we have to do it, practice it 21 days before we have a habit. Your eye doctor will tell you that. If he gives you a new prescription, he'll say, give yourself about 3 weeks to get used to this new prescription. That's a brain thing. Okay? All right. Any other questions, comments before we go? This is a wonderful discussion. Thank you all so much. Any other comments, questions before we go?
thank you for putting it together.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And congratulations again, Eric, for getting your John Maxwell coaching team certification this week in Orlando. I was in the privilege to be in the founders circle with that. And 11 years later, Eric's gone through, and his wife, and had some other people that kind of helped go through. And it's a great, great program. You don't have to be a coach to go through the program. It's powerful. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you. Have a great evening, and I hope to see you at Zoom Camp, March 25th, April 22nd, and then here in Bainbury in June 24th and 25th for lots of CE and lots of fun. It's going to be great. Okay? Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Paula.
Bye.
Bye.